On the day I flew back home, I barely had time to catch my breath before the airport staff pulled me aside. They said there was an issue with my checked luggage. Confused, I followed them down a quiet corridor, only for the door to open into a room filled with red roses. The air was thick with their scent. And there she was, Katarina. She stepped forward shyly, her eyes glistening, and slipped a diamond ring into my hand. The Lin family burst into laughter and cheers, urging me to put it on her finger. To them, this was a perfect love story finally coming full circle. After all, I had chased Katarina Lin for 5 years. To everyone in that room, I was the lucky fool who had finally won the heart of his goddess. But they all forgot. 3 years ago, that same woman had accused me of plagiarism and even claimed I was an alcoholic who'd caused a medical accident. In one brutal week, I lost everything: my career, my reputation, my dignity. I was thrown out of the hospital like trash and beaten by the patient's family. With nowhere to turn, I left the country just to survive. Now, standing here again, old Master Lin told me how Katarina had spent all her savings to cover that accident, how she'd cried over my photo for years, waiting for me to come back. He spoke as if it were some grand romance, as if all that pain could be rewritten as love. I didn't say a word. My hand just tightened around the marriage certificate hidden in my pocket, the one that proved I was no longer the man they thought I was. He kept talking, scolding me like a son who'd run away from home. "Why did you leave, Lucas? The scandal was bad, but you should have given her time. She's been searching for you all these years, wasting away." His voice was softer now, tired. The sharp, judgmental glint he once had, the one that said I'd never be good enough for his daughter, was gone. But the reproach lingered thick as ever. And as he said her name over and over, I realized something. I didn't feel the way I used to. The sound of Katarina Lin no longer stirred anything in me. 3 years was enough to bury every trace of that old obsession. They had no idea that I'd moved on, that I was already married. I took a step back, brushing his hand from my shoulder, my voice calm and steady. "Uncle Lin," I said quietly, "Katarina and I ended things 3 years ago. I don't know what you expect from me now." Their faces froze, shock, disbelief, maybe even a little fear. To them, I was still the man who'd once built his whole life around her. The man who gave up a dream position at Beijing Union just to work beside her. The one who cooked for her after every grueling shift, who stayed up all night writing research papers and even added her name to mine so she'd get promoted faster. Back then, I thought love meant sacrifice. I gave her everything: my time, my health, my career, until I could barely stand, but her smile made it all worth it. She'd leave coffee on my desk with little love notes, stand up for me when angry patients came yelling. We planned our wedding down to the smallest detail: venues, honeymoon spots, matching rings. I remember the way she looked at me the day I tried on my suit, like I was her whole world. I really thought I was the luckiest man alive, until Fernando arrived. From the day that new doctor stepped into the hospital, the warmth in her eyes turned cold. The coffee stopped showing up. The love notes vanished. At first, I told myself she was just busy helping him settle in. I didn't want to seem clingy. But then the wedding planner called, saying the venue needed both of us to sign off in person. I went to tell her, and she just waved me off, saying it was too much trouble. When I showed up at the venue, the staff handed me 2 contracts, one for me, and one for Fernando. The bride's name was the same on both: Katarina. My hands went cold. I wanted to believe it was some bizarre mistake, that there was another Katarina, but when I returned to the hospital, I saw it with my own eyes. Fernando surrounded by colleagues, everyone cheering, tossing candies, congratulating him on his marriage. And leaning against the wall, smiling shyly, was her, Katarina Lin. She saw me watching her, saw the disbelief in my eyes. And all she said in that calm, detached voice was, "Signed already?" I stared back at her, my throat burning, and asked, "Which one are you asking about, mine or Fernando's?" She frowned, annoyed, as if I'd ruined her moment. "We'll talk later at home," she said. "Everyone's celebrating. Don't make a scene." I couldn't help it. I laughed. The kind of laugh that comes when something inside you breaks so cleanly, it almost sounds like relief. Ruin the mood. Cause trouble. That's what she said. I never imagined that the same woman who'd whispered "I love you" under the blankets just days ago would now stand before me, humiliating me in front of everyone. My laugh must have stung because for a split second, guilt flickered across Katarina's face. She softened her tone. "Sorry. I didn't mean to sound harsh. Don't overthink it, all right? I've got another surgery coming up. I'll come to your office afterward. Okay, Lucas? Her hand brushed my arm gently, like she could smooth away the ache with a touch. But I stepped back, forcing down the storm inside me. I got it, I said flatly, barely meeting her eyes, and walked away. In my office, the silence pressed against me. The medical chart in my hands blurred, the words melting together until I couldn't read them anymore. I didn't know how long I sat there, minutes, hours, before a soft knock broke the stillness. Come in. Katarina walked in, a paper cup of coffee in her hand. Here, I heard you've got another surgery later. Something to refresh you. I stared at the cup, plain, empty, no love note taped to the side like before. Just a cup. I gave a quiet, Then she spoke, almost rehearsed. Fernando is my senior from university. His family's very traditional. They've been pressuring him to marry. A few days ago, his mother even threatened her life, so he asked me to help him. I took a slow sip of the coffee, my voice steady but cold. So, did you two actually register the marriage? Her eyes darted away before she nodded. But don't worry, she added quickly. It's just temporary. Once I meet his parents, I'll divorce him. Fernando's not the kind to pester, he promised. She sounded sincere, too sincere. But none of it made sense. The words fell apart in my head, sounding more like excuses than truth. She must have seen the disbelief in my eyes because she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a pair of rings. Believe me, Lucas, she said, her gaze locked on mine. The only person I love is you. I know you've been wronged. Once this is over, we'll have an even grander wedding. Before I could react, she slipped the ring onto my finger, then slid the other onto hers, smiling softly like nothing was wrong. For a moment, just a moment, I let myself believe her. The ring caught the light, and so did a sliver of hope I thought I'd buried. But it didn't last. Soon that ring vanished from her hand. Every time I asked, she had a new excuse: surgery, work, sterilization protocols. Around the hospital, she and Fernando moved together like an inseparable pair. In the halls and meetings, in the cafeteria, they laughed, whispered, leaned close. The model couple everyone adored. And me? I was the punchline, the ex-husband guy. The simp doctor who got replaced. I wanted to clear my name, to shout the truth, but before I could, Fernando came to me himself. Hands in his pockets, that smug smile playing on his lips, he walked toward me like a man already certain he'd won. Dr. Lucas, he said casually, Katarina is my wife now. I hope you'll stop bothering her. She told me you used to pester her nonstop, said she only agreed to date you out of pity. No wonder it didn't last. Relationships built on begging never do. My nails dug into my palms, but I didn't let it show. Dr. Fernando, I said evenly, I have no intention of resigning. You're not my superior, and you have no right to tell me what to do. He chuckled, crossing his arms. Is that so? Then let's make a bet. Let's see how long before you end up leaving this hospital. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a response. Just pointed to the door until he left. That night, I called Katarina and told her everything. But instead of believing me, she turned on me. Lucas, I told you I'll divorce him. Why do you have to badmouth Fernando? Do you really think he'd threaten you? God, can you stop making problems out of nothing? I'm trying to focus on my career. If you can't support me like before, fine. Just don't drag me down. The line went dead. I stared at the ring on my finger for a long time before I slipped it off and tossed it into the cabinet. She was right about one thing. It was time to focus on my career. So I did. I poured everything into preparing for the medical qualification exam. Katarina didn't call again, and I didn't reach out either. We became strangers passing in the hallway, nothing more than ghosts haunting the same building. Then, on exam day, the director slammed his hand on the table. My research paper, he said, was identical to Fernando's, word for word. The room fell silent. I wasn't nervous, I knew my own work. My skill, my ideas were beyond his. But then someone showed me Fernando's WeChat posts, daily updates documenting his research weeks before submission. The whole department had seen it. In seconds, I went from doctor to fraud. Laughter, whispers, accusations, all of it crashing over me. And at the back of the room stood Katarina. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. That single act, the way she turned away, was all the confirmation I needed. She was the only one who knew my computer password. The password that was her birthday. There was no denying it anymore. The director's voice faded as he announced my demotion. I barely heard him. I walked straight through the murmuring crowd, stopped in front of Katarina, and turned her face toward me. My voice was steady, but every word carried the weight of everything she'd taken from me. "Katarina," I said slowly, "do you also believe I plagiarized?" And in her silence, I finally got my answer. In the end, she bit her lip, her eyes darting away before she forced out a single word. "Yes." I let out a small, bitter laugh and released her hand. When I turned around, my eyes burned so red it felt like they might bleed. Katarina's voice trembled behind me as she softly called my name, but I didn't stop. Not for a second. I walked straight out of that conference room and never looked back. From that day on, everything changed. My colleagues, once friendly, warm, started avoiding me like I carried a disease. The whispers spread fast: plagiarist dog, the ex-husband guy, the man who cheated his way through medicine and love. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just worked, silently, relentlessly, shuttling between the office and the operating room. A demotion didn't scare me. I could rebuild from scratch. I always had, until that day. The director's door slammed open, and before I could even speak, a complaint letter hit my face. Someone had accused me of performing surgery while drunk, of killing a patient. For a moment, everything around me went quiet, like I was underwater. The words didn't make sense. They couldn't. "Director," I said slowly, "you must be mistaken. The patient had congenital hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. He was beyond saving before we even began." The director didn't answer. Instead, he turned to the door and called in a witness, the anesthetist from that surgery, Fernando's classmate. "Director," I protested, my voice rising, "he's one of Fernando's people. This is a setup." It's another lie to get rid of me. Before he could respond, the door burst open again. Katarina stormed in, her heels clicking sharply against the tile, her eyes filled with disgust. "Setup?" she snapped. "Lucas, what setup? This isn't about grudges, it's about you. I thought you were just jealous of Fernando, but now you're spreading lies, accusing him of ruining your career. Do you even realize how serious this is? You gambled with a patient's life. A man like you doesn't deserve to be a doctor, let alone my husband." Her words cut deeper than any scalpel. My throat tightened every breath like swallowing glass. "So, in your heart," I said quietly, "I'm the kind of man who'd kill a patient out of spite?" Katarina's gaze hardened. What else am I supposed to think? Our fridge at home is filled with liquor bottles. I saw it myself. That single sentence shattered whatever was left of my life. The director didn't hesitate. My dismissal was signed right then and there. Around me, my colleagues muttered curses and spat on the ground as I walked out. I barely made it to the hospital doors before the patient's family found me. "You killed my son!" the mother screamed, her grief turning to fury as she kicked me to the ground. "You deserve to die!" Her fists rained down again and again. I didn't even fight back. My vision blurred, but through it I saw Katarina at the reception desk. She didn't move. She just looked at me once, cold and distant, before turning away and stepping into the elevator. By the time security pulled the woman off me, it was already too late. My wrist was ruined, not completely, but enough to end the kind of surgeries I used to live for. With a tainted record and no one willing to hire a disgraced drunk doctor, I had no future left in Beijing. So I ran. Hounded by threats and shame, I boarded a flight overseas. Just before takeoff, my phone buzzed, her name lighting up the screen one last time. "Katarina, what's with the ring in the cabinet? Still sulking? It's not that I didn't believe you, I just wanted you to reflect. Go to another hospital. Be a good doctor. Stop making trouble." I stared at those words until the plane took off, watching the city that had destroyed me disappear beneath the clouds. Now, years later, sitting in that rose-covered room, surrounded by her family's false smiles, I finally spoke. "Please," I said calmly, "don't disturb me again. Between me, Katarina, and your Lin family, there's nothing left to talk about." But old Master Lin just waved his hand, pretending not to hear. "Katarina just finished surgery. She's already on her way. She's at Union Medical College Hospital now. Youngest director in history, earning millions. You're lucky, Lucas. If you miss her, you'll never find someone like her again." I couldn't help but laugh. I raised my left hand and twisted the gold ring on my finger, letting it catch the light. "Forgot to mention," I said, smiling faintly, "I'm already married. And this ring?" It cost Katarina 2 years' salary. The room fell silent. Her younger sister, Lisa, was the first to recover. She crossed her arms and sneered. "Married? Please. Didn't you once say you'd only ever love my sister? That ring's probably from some online shop. What, $1? Maybe it even tastes sweet if you lick it." Old Master Lin frowned. Lucas, this isn't a joke. Katarina is generous. She's already forgiven you. You're lucky she even still wants you. Just agree to it, and you can be our Lin family's son-in-law. You'll live comfortably for the rest of your life. His tone was sharp, patronizing, like he was offering charity to a beggar. But I just checked my watch instead. Cammy should be arriving soon. With who she was, she couldn't stay in the airport long. I needed to go. As I stood up, Lisa rolled her eyes. Still pretending to be cool? We all know you're just waiting for my sister to show up. God, you're pathetic. I don't even know why she divorced Fernando. At least he was successful. Her voice faded into the background. Fernando. The name barely stung anymore. Sorry, everyone, I said evenly. I have somewhere I need to be. I turned to leave, then froze. Because standing in the doorway, still wearing a blood-stained white coat, was Katarina. Her hair was messy, her eyes hollow, her hands trembling. She looked thinner, fragile, like the years hadn't been kind to her. The door clicked shut behind her as she stepped closer, her hand shaking as she reached up to touch my face. Her touch was trembling, soft, careful, like she was afraid I might break. Lucas, I've missed you so much. I stepped back, brushing her hand away. My voice came out colder than I meant, but still controlled. Long time no see. The light that had just flickered in her eyes died instantly. Her lashes trembled, voice cracking. Why are you talking to me like this? Are you still blaming me? I gave a tired shake of my head. Blame you for what? For stealing my paper and handing it to Fernando? At his name, she froze, panic flashing across her face. Lucas, I was wrong. But I did it for you. Fernando said you'd done surgery after drinking. He threatened to call the police. I had no choice. I let out a bitter laugh. Help me, that's what you call it. You should have let him report it. At least then I'd have fallen because of my own mistakes, not yours. I looked her straight in the eye. You don't need to apologize, Katarina. I don't need it. Justice that arrives too late doesn't mean anything. 3 years have passed. Love, hate, all of it's over. She stared at me, lost, unable to process the weight behind my words. I didn't bother explaining. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm, the same arm that still ached from old injuries. Lucas, I can't just let this go. Her voice cracked, then softened, trembling. Please, can we start over? From her pocket, she pulled out 2 rings, brighter, larger than the ones we once shared. Before, you never wore one because of your surgeries. I understand now. Work is work. Life is life. So please, this time, will you put it back on my finger? I looked at her for a long moment. No. The word was quiet, but it hit her like a storm. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Her family couldn't keep quiet any longer. Katarina, why humiliate yourself like this? Yeah, sis, he's not worth it. She snapped back at them sharply. Enough! And then turned to me again, desperate, fragile. Lucas! If you don't like this ring, we can go pick another one together. I let out a slow breath. You're imagining things, Katarina. It's not the ring. It's me, my hand. It doesn't fit anymore. Then I met her gaze. I'm married. The color drained from her face. The ring slipped from her fingers and clattered against the floor. Married? No, that's impossible. It's only been 3 years. Lucas, please. Don't joke like that. You're lying, right? You're just saying this to hurt me. I stared at her. This trembling, broken version of the woman who once stood so high above me. Back then, she was proud, untouchable. Now she looked like someone who'd lost everything. Lucas, she whispered, I agreed to your proposal. Why did you go back on your word? I laughed bitterly. Go back on my word? You're unbelievable. You were the one who turned marriage into a joke. You left me. You married someone else. Her whole body went still. Then she reached for me again, desperate. It's not what you think. I divorced him not long after. Nothing ever happened between us. Please believe me. I pulled my arm away. My voice dropped, steady but final. Enough, Katarina. I don't care anymore. My wife's been waiting for me. I need to go. I paused, then added quietly. And I'm a traditional man. I'd never marry a woman who's already been married. The words cut deep and I knew it. But I walked away anyway. Behind me, she called my name again, her voice breaking. Lucas, have you had enough? Maybe my tone was too harsh because she flinched, whispering a small, sorry. I didn't look back. Her footsteps faltered behind me. I sighed. Let her chase if she wanted to. I was done fighting ghosts. I checked my phone, several missed calls. Of course, Camilla was probably about to explode. Then through the crowd I saw her. A woman in a beige trench coat walking toward me with a baby in her arms. Even with a mask and sunglasses, she drew every gaze around her. "God, she's stunning," someone whispered. "Like a movie star. That baby's so cute. She must have saved the galaxy in a past life." But her eyes found only me. "Husband," she said softly, her voice trembling between a pout and a laugh. "Why didn't you pick up?" I was worried. The crowd froze. Every eye turned toward us. I couldn't help smiling as I reached out, brushing my hand through her hair. "Didn't we agree not to bring the little one?" "He's still too small." Before Camilla could answer, the baby looked up at me, gurgled, and said his first word. "Duh, duh." I froze. Camilla smirked immediately. "See, husband?" He insisted on coming. I laughed, a real unguarded laugh this time. She leaned into me, her head on my shoulder, her voice low and teasing. "Honey, I've missed you so much." Her smile was hidden behind the mask, but I could hear it, warm, sweet, and real. The kind of love that didn't need proving. "Let's go, husband," Camilla said with that familiar, teasing lilt in her voice. "You've been away too long. I even had my uncle make your favorite, spicy Sichuan, just to wake up your appetite." I smiled faintly and started to follow her. But before I could take another step, someone shouted behind us. "Lucas!" The sharpness of my name startled the baby. He burst into tears, loud and sudden, the sound cutting right through the air. Camilla immediately bent down, scooping up the dropped pacifier. There. "It's okay, baby," she cooed softly, rocking him gently. Trying to help, I fished a little silver bell from my pocket. "Hey, little one, look what Daddy's got." Ding-ling, dang-dang, wah! The crying doubled in volume. Camilla groaned, snatched the bell from me, and gave me a light smack on the head. "I told you that doesn't work. Give him here, I'll calm him down." I muttered something under my breath, stuffing the bell back into my pocket, feeling thoroughly demoted from dad to assistant. Camilla cradled our son again, whispering, "Hush, sweetheart. Mommy's here. Mommy's right here." Little by little, the baby's cries softened into small hiccups, then silence. I exhaled in relief and reached up to brush her hair away from her face. "My wife," I said, smiling, "always knows what to do." I turned to the baby, pointing dramatically at him. "And you, little rascal. Pretending you don't even see your dad, huh?" Camilla rolled her eyes, swatting my hand away. "Childish. You're nearly 30 and still jealous of a baby." The warmth of that moment, the laughter, the soft baby breaths, it all felt golden, alive. But for someone watching, it must have felt like a knife twisting. Katarina stood frozen, her expression darkening. "Have you acted enough, Lucas?" Her tone was sharp, slicing through the air. My patience snapped. "And have you lost your mind enough?" Camilla's head turned, her sunglasses slipping down slightly as she eyed Katarina. "Honey," she said quietly, "do you know her?" Katarina's gaze locked on Camilla, burning with jealousy. Camilla felt it instantly. Her posture shifted, chin lifting ever so slightly, her playful warmth cooling into something sharp. Then Katarina's voice broke the silence. "She's not really your wife, is she? You hate me so much you'd hire someone to act, hiding her face so I wouldn't recognize the truth. That baby, is he even yours?" Before I could respond, Camilla stepped forward, shielding me and the baby behind her. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "Lady, did you just escape from the mental ward?" The sheer composure in her tone only enraged Katarina further. Her teeth clenched, voice trembling with fury. "Say that again." Camilla gave a soft, mocking laugh. "Oh, so you don't even understand plain speech. Let me make it simpler. We don't have time for you. Dinner's getting cold, and I don't let my husband eat cold food." Katarina shoved Camilla's shoulder, rage blazing in her eyes. "Lucas, we need to talk!" But before she could take another step, Camilla pushed her back, this time with force. "So this is the woman you used to know?" Rude, desperate, and graceless. How sad. Then Camilla froze, pulled out her phone, and dialed. Her tone changed, crisp, professional. "Director Law? It's me, Cammy. You have a surgeon named Katarina on staff, right? Add her to the surgical rotation in 10 minutes. The color drained from Katarina's face. Her lips trembled. "Cammy, Camilla's son? No. That's impossible. You're her?" Before I could speak, her phone buzzed. She looked at it and then hung up, eyes wide with disbelief. Camilla smiled politely, took out a small sanitizer spray, and carefully disinfected the hand Katarina had shoved. We were about to leave when Katarina's voice cracked behind us. "Do you even know?" Lucas once proposed to me? More than once. Camilla hesitated, just a heartbeat, then turned and walked straight into my arms. She clung to me tightly, and though her face was calm, I could feel the tremor in her hands. I sighed. If I wanted to keep tonight peaceful, I had to end it. Handing our son gently back to her, I stepped toward Katarina. Her eyes were wide, pleading, desperate, but I didn't stop. My hand came down across her face. The sound was sharp, final. She froze, eyes wide with shock. Her fingers brushed the corner of her lip. Blood. "Lucas, you hit me." Her voice cracked. Tears spilled freely now. I looked at her, my tone flat but final. That slap was the price for frightening my son. I took a breath, each word deliberate. "Yes, I proposed to you once, but who hasn't been blind a few times when they were young? Thanks to you, I found a real woman, a real partner. Oh, and one more thing, your new ring? It's still too small. It'll never measure up to the one I gave her." Camilla stood behind me, silent, the baby tucked against her chest. "My wife wears a mask," I continued, "not to hide her face, but to protect our family. Something a self-centered person like you would never understand." I turned slightly, my voice lowering into a warning. "Katarina, if you harass us again, that extra surgery you're scheduled for won't be the only thing you'll regret. Getting into Union Medical College wasn't easy, was it?" Her lips parted, but no words came. She just stood there, pale, shaking, her eyes glassy. Finally, after a long silence, she whispered, "Lucas, do you really hate me that much?" "Yes," I didn't hesitate. "Not only do I hate you, I despise you. So stay away from me." And with that, I turned, took Camilla's hand, and walked away without looking back. I thought that would be the end of it, that my words would finally drive her off. But I was wrong. Days later, she showed up again, this time at my lecture. Since I could no longer operate, I'd turned to teaching, passing on what I once did with my hands, now through my voice. She sat in the front row, thinner, paler, her eyes shadowed by exhaustion. And throughout the entire lecture, she didn't look away once. When the hall emptied, she finally stood, walking down the steps slowly, each one echoing in the silence. "Katarina," I said tiredly, "what do you want from me?" She stopped, guilt flickering behind her eyes. "I just wanted to ask, why did you stop being a doctor?" I gave a hollow laugh, lifting my right hand, the one that could no longer hold a scalpel steady. "Did you forget?" I asked quietly. "You told me to reflect. Well, this is what that reflection looks like." Hearing that, Katarina stumbled back a few steps, her face pale as she whispered again and again, "How? How could this be?" Her voice trembled as if saying it out loud might somehow undo what she'd just heard. "I didn't think it would turn out like this," she said finally, her tone hollow. "I thought, since she was a woman, a few hits wouldn't matter." That single careless sentence destroyed everything I had worked for. Years of sleepless nights, of saving lives, of pouring my soul into medicine, gone. When I found out I'd never be allowed to practice again, I fell into a darkness I didn't think I'd ever crawl out of. 2 years of antidepressants later, the pain dulled, but it never disappeared. Thinking about it now, all that sadness had curdled into something else. Pure disgust. "Katarina," I said quietly, my voice sharp as a blade, "if you don't want another slap, get out of my sight." Her body froze. Then, in a small, shaking voice, she said, "I'm sorry, Lucas. I came here today to apologize. After what you told me that day, I went back and asked the anesthetist about the incident." She admitted she only said those things because Fernando told her to. "I didn't know. I really didn't know." Her words cracked as she repeated, "Sorry," over and over, like an old record stuck in place. But nothing inside me moved. Not anger. Not pity, just emptiness. "You remember what I said that day," I told her. "But you forgot the rest. Justice that comes late is worthless. Do you think your flimsy apologies can bring back my hand?" Her eyes darted to the scar running across my wrist, and for a moment her bravado faltered. "Lucas, can't you give me another chance?" she pleaded. "Didn't you say people make mistakes when they're young? I was tricked by Fernando. He seemed so kind, so refined. I didn't know he'd turn out so cruel." The sound of my palm striking her cheek cut her off. "Then tell me," I snapped. "Why didn't you ask that anesthetist the truth back then?" Was it impossible, or were you just unwilling? She shook her head frantically, clutching at my arm. At that time, I remembered the bottles in our fridge. You never drank before, and suddenly you started. I stared at her, cold. You know why I started drinking, Katarina? She blinked, confused. Because I was heartbroken. Every single bottle at home had your name on it. I shook off her hand, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. But before I reached it, I heard a dull thud behind me. When I turned, she was on her knees, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Lucas, I really love you, she cried. You don't know how I've lived these 3 years. Every minute without you was torture. I miss you so much. I didn't turn back. I just asked quietly, Katarina, did you ever really love Fernando? Her tears froze midstream, confusion flashing in her eyes. The ring I threw away, I continued. It wasn't because I was sulking. It wasn't because it was small. It was too big. Even if I'd worn it, it would have slipped right off my finger. You're not stupid. You should understand what that means. So please don't come looking for me again. The warning I gave you still stands. I walked out, her cries echoing down the corridor long after I was gone. Outside, a familiar red Ferrari waited. I climbed in, the door closing softly behind me, and immediately felt the tension in the air, cold, sharp, almost metallic. What's wrong? I asked. Camilla's face was set, her tone clipped. I saw her walk into the school. Did she come bother you again? Yes, I said simply. At that, her rehearsed scolding stopped mid-sentence. What did she say? The usual, I replied. Forgive me. Marry me. Camilla scoffed, rolling her eyes. No new tricks. Just the same pathetic routine. And what did you say? I couldn't help but smile a little. I said, she shot me a warning look. Lucas. I said I'd think about it, I teased. Her eyes went wide, her grip tightening on the steering wheel. Say that again. I said, I grinned, leaning closer. Cammy, I love you too, only you. If you hadn't taken me in back then, I probably would have given up on myself. You taught me what love actually feels like. Her lips silenced me before I could finish. When she finally pulled away, her cheeks were red. You talk too much, she muttered, flustered. I told you to repeat a few words, not give a whole lecture. Since when did Professor Lucas get so dramatic? She tried to sound casual, but I could tell she'd been scared the second she saw Katarina. I'd caught her a few nights ago reading some over-the-top romance novel titled, What Should I Do If My Husband's Ex Comes Back and He Doesn't Want Me Anymore? She really was adorable. What are you thinking about? She asked suddenly. Who are you thinking of? The one right in front of me, I said. I don't believe you, she challenged. Prove it. Then she reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a box of condoms. After you use these, she said, smirking, I'll believe you. My face flushed. Camilla, this is a car. So what? She said, leaning closer. It's not a cheap apartment. It's a villa with a private parking lot. And that's how I lost that argument. After that day, Katarina stopped showing up. Maybe she'd finally realized it was over. Or maybe Camilla's threat had gotten through to her. Either way, I could finally breathe. I heard later she spent a fortune hiring private detectives to hunt down Fernando. Something happened, not that I cared much. All I knew was that he ended up in the hospital, seriously injured. 3 months later, on my birthday, I found a cup of coffee and a small cake left at my door. A pink heart-shaped note was stuck to the cup. Happy birthday. I hope you have a lifetime of happiness. I crumpled the note and tossed it in the trash along with the rest. Then I left the house, walking toward the life that was finally mine.